The bell has finished tolling for Season 5, but Season 6 has yet to arise. Here we are, stuck in the midpoint between what has passed and what has yet to come. But soon, very soon, we shall have a new season and new content? Additions? Gyms. We'll have new gyms. No, we'll have updated gyms. That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Anyways, thank you everyone for coming through and joining us here tonight on episode 88 of the Westmarch Workshop. Prepare yourself. A new season is coming. I'm your host, Nineball, and with me, as always, well, not really, is Leviathan.
What a dick.
What a dick, I
It
know.
begins.
It
It
begins
begins.
already. We're just going at it like full bore this time. And of course, I'm not always here either, and sometimes it's just Steven, but we're making an effort to change. And
For the better.
that's what counts, right? Is just the effort,
Yes.
not actually changing, just as long as you're like showing something. I don't know.
You get an S for satisfactory, like your old report cards used to have for classes that didn't really count for anything.
I don't remember that.
You used to get like an S in gym or like spelling or something. At least my
Oh.
at my school we did. You had like your core classes, like
Hmm.
English was like A through F and math, etc. But if it was like writing class or something, I don't know, whatever they didn't consider to be core, it's just like you got an S or you got like a what else could you get? Like a exceeds expect you got like an EE or something exceeds expectations, and I don't know, it's all sorts of weird systems.
Yeah, mine was always just like, A, B, C, D, E, F. No E, no S. It's like one of those things. Is like I'm sure if I had been able to have found a way, I could have gotten like a B in gym. Like I don't know how that's possible, but I could have found a way. I'm pretty sure.
There's you break your ankle.
Yeah. Though I think at that point they'd give you an A just because it's like you broke your ankle. So here you go.
You were clearly trying hard.
Yeah. You have shown concentrated effort. You're allowed to go. And then when I was in Europe, it was pass or fail. There was like no grade system. Or at least I
Really?
think there was like a grade system, but once I came back to the states and started like applying for colleges, it was just like, did you pass six classes? They didn't care what the grades were. It's just did you pass six classes? Because it
Hmm.
was a IGCSE as opposed to a diploma.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. Weird times. Anyway, we're supposed to be talking about Diablo, right?
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
don't know where this. We're already getting off course, like already. And if you want some like really like weird off-topic conversations, hop on to the Twitch channel and watch just the video of this recording, as opposed to the YouTube or the iTunes Stitcher audio or video files. Just because, yeah, Jar Jar or something. I don't know. It got creepy. It got weird really quickly in the pre-show this week. But yes, here we are. Diablo. Again, sorry about missing last week, but I think I'm going to go ahead and start off the week in gaming because mine is quick and easy and sad because I didn't play any video games last week. That was the whole
Oh
reason why we didn't even
no.
have a show last week. Do you want to know how many hours I clocked in when I finally totaled up everything yesterday?
All right, I'm gonna guess it was exorbitant. So let's go
Yes.
with 93.
Ah, dang, you actually hit close to the mark. It was 89 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, I slept at the worst part of it was is Thursday I got in at 10 a.m. and I got home Saturday at 4 a.m.
What?
Yes, I slept at
You,
the theater.
wow.
Yeah, for like 2 hours. It was bad. It was really bad. And I really wish that I could talk more about what it was, but it was so like serious that I had to sign an NDA. So I don't even know like how much I can actually discuss it or anything like that. But I guess what limited amount that I can talk about it was for the Williams Invitational. We threw like a private party for the Williams Invitational that Venus and Serena Williams do every year. It's kind of like a kind of big like fundraiser um, and so it was an amazing, amazing experience to go through and be a part of. It was definitely worth all the time and effort that I went and put into it. Got a lot of amazing memories just from that short weekend. But uh, damn, I'm glad that it's over. And
I bet.
I could actually go back, and it's like I'm already in set for season 6. I now apparently, it's like I go back looking at it. It's like I only stayed up for like what 23 hours for one of these seasons. Damn, that's nothing.
Yeah,
I am
you're.
set. I'm prepared to go for like a 48-hour stream or something like that. I'm good to go.
I was gonna say you had some preseason training there. I guess is what
I
you're really working on.
I know. But yeah, unfortunately, my that was my weekend gaming. Incredibly not gaming related whatsoever. So
So
now
you
that we've
didn't
got
even get to get like a last run at the leaderboards or anything like that at the end,
no,
huh?
and I was missing like one single conquest, and in like the limited amount of time that I had tried to put together like a set of gear for doing the I think it was what is it the Greater Rift 40 45 with no set pieces in
Yeah,
order
45.
yeah in order to go through and get that one conquest, and so I missed Guardian again by one conquest. Just whereas last season I missed Guardian by I want to say like 5 gym levels because I lost my witch doctor leveling up gyms before I got
Oh,
like
that's right.
before I got the second or third one up to I think it was 60 or something like that. So uh, maybe season 6 will finally be my season to go through and complete Guardian. We'll have to wait and see.
Three times the charm.
Exactly. But how about yourself? How did the end of the season treat you, good sir?
Well, I got to play a little bit more than you did, just a smidge.
Just a tad, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Things actually started to come together quite nicely right at the end of the season. I started to group up with one of my friends. He wrote into the show last time, Togay's Nut. And we were doing, he was playing support barb, I was playing Crusader, and we were just kind of working on getting more Paragon levels. It felt weird because, you can do that to infinity
Mm-hmm.
because it never ends. So it's like, at what point do you stop trying to get, another +5 primaries and run for, your highest GR? Um, and with the way that the week was going, I knew that my time on Friday was going to be kind of short, so I had to go and do my push on Thursday. So I was kind of trying to plan out, Monday I'll do this, and then Tuesday I'll, do all my whatchamacallem, Ubers and try and make, the one more shot at a good Hellfire, blah, 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 blah. Long and short of it is that I did better than I thought I would. I got up to Greater Rift 84, which at the time was good for rank 31 on the Hardcore Crusader leaderboards. And then I went for an 85, and I had to like, I actually got to the point where I was fishing, which I've never gotten to in a season before. And so many rifts, I would just go in and experience that feeling of, well, nope, bad map, have to leave. Oh, bad mobs, have to leave. So it was kind of interesting to do that. But I did have a couple that I completed, not in time. One of them I think was like a 15:30, and then the last one I got was the Dream. Remember, we were last episode we were talking about the Dream Rift, the
Yeah.
unburied Goatman. Like, oh, it was such a. I wish I had recorded it because it was insane. I opened up the map, I opened up the key. It's the vault like areas before you fight Zoltan Cool during a
Mm-hmm.
campaign, like the Storm Halls and whatever that other one is.
Yeah.
It was one level of that, just unending, full to the brim of elite unburieds and goatmen, and like some of them like 2 and 3 packed up. And the way that long bombardment works is that you want elites. Like you can. I mean, it is kind of squishy, so you have to position yourself and like make sure you're spawning the health globes correctly,
Mm-hmm.
using the blind very situationally. But you want to fight a lot of elites at one time because all of that bombardment damage, when you have a lot of enemies on screen, really stacks up. So I was just blazing through the rift. Like I think I spawned the Rift Guardian with about 6 minutes to go. So I'm thinking the whole time. Actually, I said it out loud, and I probably doomed myself. I was like, "Dude, this is clear. I got this. All I have to do is just fight the Rift Guardian." So it turns out to be Perendi, who's the hammer smasher dude.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and man, that fight was a lot harder than I thought it would be. The one thing that really sucks about that build in particular is that if there are ads, it can be good and bad, because if the ads all stack up on what you're trying to target, then you get to benefit from your area damage
Area
and things like
damage.
that.
So
Yeah,
you're adding a little bit of a multiplier onto how much you're hitting for.
exactly. But if you have ads and they kind of wander around, if they come to you and not stick towards the Rift Guardian, then it actually makes it a lot harder, because now you have bombardment barrels that are just kind of errantly going all over the place as they try and hit the ads as well as target the Rift Guardian. So I lost a lot of DPS on that fight, and it got down to 1 minute left, and Perendi has like less than 25% health. And you know, at that,
Ouch.
it was gonna be close because I calculated it out, and if every barrel hit, I was doing something like shoot, I calculated it. I was doing something like 8 trillion damage or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he had less than 10 trillion HP left. So I needed two rotations on physical COE in
Mm-hmm.
order to do that damage. So I was like, if I could just get it to stack up, I gotta like YOLO and go for it because the barrels follow where you go. I know anyone else who like doesn't like Crusaders like, what is he talking about? I don't care at all. But the barrels go specifically where your Crusader is standing. Like they target closer to where you are. So if you are on top of the mob that you really want to prioritize, barrels are more likely to hit. But obviously, this is a huge melee fight. Like I don't want to be anywhere near these huge hammer swings that he's throwing down. And once he's down to 25%, it was an auto one shot. Like anytime he hit me or made contact, I was going to be procced. So I
Mm-hmm.
procced, and I got on the horse and I was like, all right, fine, like reassess the situation. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. And then of course I was like horsing and just about to hop off the horse, but then I think I was nervous or I don't know, man, like a bead of sweat dropped into my eye and I was blinded for a second in real life and my hand moved and jiggled the wrong way and I dodged when I should have dashed and I zagged and I died.
Yep.
Ugh, I died.
That actually that triggers some memories of playing Final Fantasy X.
Really? Why
Yes,
10?
having to go and get Lulu's like special doll
Oh my god.
is dodging like the
The
200 lightning
lightning
bolts.
bolts,
I was
yes.
sitting there. I was at 194 dodges, and a fly flew in my eye.
No.
Needless to say, I never actually got that little onion knight doll or whatever it was. It was
I
just
think
like,
it
okay,
was.
screw this, never doing it again. You know, f this, I'm done. It was just,
You
it
didn't
was
even
that
want
was
to try again?
no, of course not. That was just like I just spent like 15 minutes freaking dodging lightning bolts, and then now it wants to go through, and fate wants to freaking poke me in the eye with some stupid little bug. I'm done. I'm done.
I have a story for that as well too. I remember I was doing the dodging and my it was like a Sunday afternoon. My mom called me from like the kitchen to come and like taste something or whatever for dinner. And I was like, "Mom, no, I'm in the middle of Final Fantasy. I have to like do this thing." And so I'm concentrating. I'm like trying hard not to blink at the screen and like get into the rhythm. And then she like comes in and she kicked the door and again I was like, sweat dropped in my eye. There's always sweat. I don't know, it's weird.
It's just
And
there.
yeah, I don't know. And I like mistimed it and lost it. And I think it was probably like close to where you were, like a 170, 180 dodge at some point. And what sucked with that as well too, I know we're like so off track now, but what sucked is there was no counter, so you had to keep track of it. And it didn't tell you when you dinged it either. So you had to like maybe dodge some extra ones just in case. I just remember being like so on the edge of my seat with that stupid mini game. If you can even call it a mini game.
It was more like just like an experience in pain.
Mini torture.
Yep.
Ah, memories. But yeah, sorry. So I died. I think is the moral of that story.
In case
And
you missed it,
yeah,
what we were talking about. Yeah.
that's right. But it was a successful season. By the time that all was said and done, in Friday 8 p.m. Eastern rolled around, I had dropped to rank 34. So I was pretty happy with that. I would have liked like my goal I was saying all along, rank 25-ish or higher or whatever. But that's more than fine for me. And then I just decided to chase some achievements in the non-seasonal time. And I'm looking forward to season 6. And just a note for anyone who listens to this show before this coming weekend, I'll be at PAX East, which is happening in Boston from
Woot.
Friday the 22nd to Sunday the 24th.
Yeah.
Come
So
say hi.
yeah. And where can they reach out to you in order to try and coordinate meeting?
Probably the best will be Twitter. If you just send a tweet and say like I'm next to the Intel booth or I'm outside or something like that, then I can try and make my way around. Because I don't have anything that I'm technically supposed to be doing at any given moment, so I'm also just be floating around the floor trying out different stuff. Probably waiting in lines forever.
Uh, Everyone's favorite at conventions, the line ride.
Oh yes.
But yeah, no, that's going to be a lot of fun. One year I do plan on actually getting out to PAX East, but as of right now, there's only one big convention that I have my eyes set on. I don't know if you've heard about this one. It's kind of a big thing, like in kind of like the little Blizzard community here, but it's called BlizzCon. I'm not sure if you've heard of that one before.
No, no. Tell me more. Is it cool? Do people go?
Yeah, yeah,
Is it
people go.
popular?
It's kind of small. It's still growing. I think there were only like 25,000 people there last year. So I mean, it's like it's kind of just a little get together.
Okay.
But yeah, it's happening again this year on November 4th and 5th, and I do in fact think that ticket sales go on in like 30 minutes.
What?
If you're watching this live, if you're not, well, I hope you got your tickets.
Right.
But yeah,
Good
so
luck.
so for those of you who are joining us here tonight, just as a subtle little reminder, at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, ticket sales are going on for BlizzCon 2016. It's a brand new system that they're doing this year, and it's apparently kind of like a first come first serve. There's no queue or line or anything like that. It's just like everyone is going to bum rush it, and whoever can type in their information and their credit card info the fastest is going to be the people that get their tickets. So just be prepared,
Warm
and
those
also
fingers up.
yeah, warm them up, and also just there's no changing of the quantities. Previous years you used to be able to just click like a quantity, go in. Once your queue ended, you could then, and you actually went to purchase your tickets, you could change the quantity of tickets that you had to purchase. But this time you have to set it before you go. Which if you're listening to this on YouTube or iTunes or what have you, after the fact, there is the second batch which is going to be going on sale. Um, which is
Saturday.
I think Saturday. Yeah, that is the 23rd.
That's correct.
Yeah, so that'll be one thing to go through and check out for is just to make sure. And that one is going to be earlier. So Saturday the 23rd is going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern. So just make sure that you go through and are prepared on Saturday if you want to try and pick up some tickets.
Yeah, may the RNG forever be in your favor.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully see you there if it's something that you're gonna want to go through and become a part of. Because I mean, I hope that we make it.
Yeah.
We
We got
kind of
lucky last year.
we got lucky last year. This
No,
is for
no
certain.
incidences or accidents or anything.
Knock on wood or pressed plywood, corrugated cardboard, whatever this desk is made out of. We'll see. Um, but yeah, definitely something to go through, get hyped, get excited about. Obviously, we have no idea what's in store at all, if anything, at this year's BlizzCon, because all it has been is just announced, and we have the ticket sales dates. No clue what type of stuff is going to be there. But I don't know if you want to like speculate any on what we might see at this BlizzCon. I know we've kind of talked about this already in a couple of shows, but
It's
do you have
always
any
fun to dive
any
back
yeah
in.
any thoughts?
I mean, the big thing that we'll need to look out for is not only the key art, like some of the promotional stuff that they'll start to show out,
Mm-hmm.
but also even what's in the goodie bags. Although I guess we kind of were saying, you remember what was it when they showed the goblin, or not goblin, the it was like the Murloc pet thing that we got. Everyone was like, "Oh, we're getting Scovos. Like it's a whole bunch of water type stuff. There's this water
Mm-hmm.
beast that's been data mined, blah blah blah." So that kind of goes to show that even and the whole like Crusader thing that's behind me, that whole
Yeah, the
evil
corrupted
Crusader.
crusader. Yeah.
What does it mean? So like, even though we'll get hints of art and things, we could still be so far off. But one of the things I did at least want to touch on, and something that you had pointed out on Twitter, is we've gotten some release dates for a few things recently. Like we know World of Warcraft is coming out with Legion on August 30th.
Mm-hmm.
By the time BlizzCon rolls around, Overwatch will have been released for quite a few months.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like, what else is there on the table? What we really kind of don't know what the future of like the next StarCraft thing will be. Maybe they'll have more info there. But to me, I don't know. It just seems like there's nothing major that we could surmise outside of like a brand new game or something. Because everything else would just be like DLC. Like here's the new like StarCraft like mission pack thing
Mm-hmm.
after the whole like Nova one that they released. Maybe they'll do like some DLC type of material for Overwatch that
Hmm.
serves as an expansion of sorts.
Yeah, because
Um,
we don't know like what Overwatch's you know content system is going to be like. Is it going to be like little mini DLCs that they
mhm.
can go through and push out like map packs, or are they going to do expansions? Can they do expansions in a game like Overwatch, which is pretty much just multiplayer? You know,
All right.
yeah.
Uh,
So I don't know.
it's hard to really see it from here. I mean, after Gamescom, I think we'll have more of an idea of what could potentially be announced because then, of course, we'll know that a few bullets have been shot out of the gun there too. Unless there's nothing there. Even PAX East this weekend, the only presence that Blizzard will have is Overwatch, and not even a panel or anything like that. They just have the game demoed. This will actually be the first time it's playable on console, so that's kind of cool. But other than that, it's slim pickings here. I wonder if it might be the same. Maybe they're just gonna save a bunch of stuff for BlizzCon. I don't know.
Yeah, we could see. I know there definitely is going to be something Hearthstone related, whether it's a new
Yeah,
expansion or an adventure mode. You
seems to
know,
be a given these days.
yeah. I guess we will probably see like we'll see like I want to say we'll see the adventure, like the solo adventure, released before BlizzCon, and so we'll get the announcement of the expansion like at BlizzCon for release like in December. Or it could also obviously just be flipped around the other way.
Mm,
Um, And one thing that I'm thinking about, like you mentioned, as I was saying on Twitter, is like, well, if World of Warcraft is having their expansion released in August, I almost expect to see the next expansion announced at BlizzCon in November. It's just because they've always announced a World of Warcraft expansion, the BlizzCon after the BlizzCon immediately following the release of the other expansion. This is going to be a really tight window, but I think like the shortest one after that was the Wrath of the Lich King release to the Cataclysm, or I think it was the Burning Crusades release to the Wrath of the Lich King announcement was like 8 months.
hmm,
The Burning Crusade released, and then 8 months later, Wrath of the Lich King was announced. But this will be a much smaller turnaround time. But if they want to go and continue to pump out these expansions for World of Warcraft in a timely fashion, like they're gonna have to, or kind of like what they did last year that took everyone by surprise, is that they announced a World of Warcraft expansion outside of BlizzCon. We could see the WoW. They might not announce it at this year's BlizzCon, and we could see the announcement at like PAX East,
right, which would be like
next
that
year.
7 to 8 month window.
Yeah, we'll have to see. So,
Huh.
uh, don't know. And then of course the big question that everyone that's listening to this is really concerned about is Diablo. Yeah, do
Well,
we?
will we see?
Yeah, do
I
we?
mean, this is a good time to tie in a couple of other things that have been happening recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that many people are keying in on was John Yang's tweet earlier this week
Yep.
stating that he has officially moved over to the World of Warcraft team and he's working on legendary items over there. A
Yep.
lot of people see this as the sky falling, and then it was also added to when some people did some digging and found out that on Don Vu's LinkedIn, it also shows that he is on the World of Warcraft team as well, working on some sort of items or system stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I think it was maybe a day later, Leonard Boyarsky decides to announce that he is leaving Blizzard completely. So these two are shifting around the company, and Leonard leaves completely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
obviously, huge shakeups, right? Like this is stuff that makes you say, okay, what's happening to the future of my Diablo game right now? And I feel like, well, first, actually, let me open up to you. How does this make you, and how does this make you feel, Nineball?
I think this just kind of reconfirms, the thoughts that we've been having kind of like since BlizzCon and we talked about on the show is, this is definitely pointing in the direction of they're working on Diablo 4. We're not going to get a D3 expansion pack 2.
Hmm.
It's we're they're kind of picking some of them uh, despite all of the work and such that John and Don have put into the game, they were, like associate devs. So, the higher up, the senior devs, like Wyatt, Josh, and such, are still there to go through and continue on the process. But we're losing some of that talent to other games, or some other people are leaving the company, which isn't that strange? You see a lot of like higher up people within Blizzard leaving. A couple of them leave like every year because it's just when you're for a company the size of Blizzard, it's really not that strange. You go through and you look at other businesses that are the similar size, and you'll see higher up and senior level people that are leaving to jump to different companies to see different opportunities, or they especially with people that with artistic tendencies, they might feel as if they're just becoming stagnant working on the same thing over and over and over, and they want to get out and have just a completely fresh slate to go and work on something different than the same type of game, or within the same kind of like community there at Blizzard. Um, so I think seeing a lot of these changes and such, so they're kind of shuffling like kind of the lower level, the associate devs to other games, means they're kind of closing down a lot of the development on Diablo 3. There are people there to go through and continue to do new items, do like little tweaks to the itemization system, but we might not see that many big new features like Kanai's Cube added in, and
Hmm.
that focus is going to be going towards developing like Diablo 4. That Team 3 is kind of be I would imagine that Team 3 is probably getting kind of broken up, and have a core team of some of the higher ups going and working specifically on some of the concepts for what they want Diablo 4 to be.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I fall in line as well too. It seems sensible to believe that if they are at this high level of determining what the next thing for Diablo will be, and it really does feel like it's going to be a Diablo 4, a brand new game, you don't need people like John Yang or Don Vu involved in that process because they were very much detail building like components of the systems in the game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So at that moment their skills are kind of, and maybe they could give input on kind of the overall arc and what we want, but I don't even think we're there yet. Like, you could bring those guys back in. Development of a game takes years and years, so give them a place to be where they can use their skills that they've been honing and crafting in the Diablo systems to games that might need that fresh look, like a Warcraft. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
going to, like, a lot of people are responding very positively to the items that John has been producing over there. So it only makes sense that, they take what they've learned from Diablo and, a game that really got revitalized by putting in interesting items, interesting weapons, interesting powers, and give some of that infusion to a game that's starting to get a little old, or maybe not as well received as they thought it would be with WOD and Panda and all that stuff. So it makes sense in my mind. I know a lot of people will just be upset that it means probably that there won't be another expansion. And people were really holding on to that idea of that very first document that was kind of data mined that showed, Diablo
X2,
3,
yeah.
X1, X2. And so there was kind of always that background feeling that, yes, we are going to get one because we had this thing that said we were going to get one. But I think if you really step back and you look at the patch progression and the development progression since Reaper of Souls, you could kind of get that feeling. Like, we kept saying it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each patch felt like it was another part of an expansion. And at first we kept saying, like, this feels like the rest of Reaper of Souls. This feels like the rest of Reaper of Souls. At some point it
Mm-hmm.
must have transitioned from the rest of Reaper of Souls to here's the rest of what was potentially going to be your next expansion.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many things that got added into the game that were kind of like labeled with, X2, just like almost everything added in Reaper was labeled X1. And we got a lot of stuff that was labeled X2 that was added into the game that probably were holdouts for this other expansion, which for whatever reason, the expansion got canceled, and but all that content that they created got pushed into the game. It's like, we're still going to give you all of this stuff, but we're giving it to you for free. And then they decided, let's move forward to the next step in the franchise, instead of going through and making another expansion. Let's just give them the expansion content for free,
Hmm.
and let's kind of like start over and go from there. There in um, I don't know if you remember him, but Azure from the old, Diablo II.net days.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, that was
He's kind of like
so.
the economist guy.
Yeah, exactly. He always had some very interesting takes on like the limitations of the itemization system that they decided to take in D3. That there were certain limitations, like that we're learning here with the infinite paragon points and such. That it's kind of like a linear system of your power increase through all these stats, and the only way that you could get more power is to just increase the numbers, and that it left like that kind of system like that. It wasn't as moldable like Diablo 2 was, because your main stats didn't really mean anything, and you had a whole bunch of other things like um, your attack rating, so your ability to hit the enemy as well as modifying the enemy's defenses meant a lot more. And there was a whole, the equations for actually going through and doing damage were a lot more complicated, and all these things that you had to go through and plug into it. So the math behind it was a lot more intense, but it made gearing a little bit more interesting. So that way it took more time to like look at two pieces and tell which one was better.
Hmm.
Obviously, that's something that they're trying to step away from, but it makes me wonder if they go through and redo the entire itemization system in D4, if they might step away from this whole main stat kind of linear increase of this gear is just better because it has higher numbers, or if they might be able to develop something else that would make it so you know there's other metrics to look at that might not necessarily be the best thing for you.
It makes a really good reason for why you might go in a different direction than an expansion. Yeah, because an expansion is always going to be tied to the systems that are developed. You can only change so much when the root of the game, the base of the game, is what it is.
Hmm.
And D4 definitely represents a unique opportunity to really break the mold of what we know from D3 and go in a completely different direction. Like you mentioned, especially with D2 being kind of the classic example, something like synergies, which came into that game, really changed things around. I couldn't really, I'm only thinking about it right now, but I couldn't really see how something like that would implement into a game like D3 just the way that it's made, because at the end of the day, like you said, Paragon is kind of reigning supreme, and more stats is better. So
Hmm.
even I would say like the closest thing to synergies that we might be experiencing is just the combination of more of these legendary powers and Kanai's cube kind of feeding into that as well too, to give you just a little more interesting interactions between what your set does and what the skills do and things like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, there really do seem to be kind of like design space limitations that you could potentially get rid of if you kind of scrap the whole thing and start anew.
Yeah, and that's I although I doubt we'll ever go to the kind of like the skill tree system, or anything along those lines. It did open up certain quirks within itemization system, because you could have like the plus to all skills, which now you kind of only get by having like percentage skill damage.
Hmm.
If there might be some way that they could filter that back in, or even if it was like with the infinite paragon system, if they carry over something like that, it could be like the old EverQuest, the AA, the alternate advancement system, where kind of was like a skill tree that you had that you could go through and fill out points and get abilities or bonuses to skills and such, and you could eventually fill it completely. It took forever and a day to do. But it was something that could be done, and you could actually fill the entire skill tree out with your points, if you like devoted most of your life to actually playing the game. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I can't. I wonder if you couldn't even do some sort of compromise, right? Like if you
Hmm.
were to take, um, and forgive me for my very limited knowledge of World of Warcraft, but to my understanding, you kind of have like these designations you can make. So you have like a survival hunter or like a elemental, oh god, shaman maybe.
Hmm.
In any case, you could like, what if you had skills that you could just use without limitation, but you could more customizationally, making things up, um, make it so that your character is different from the next crusader or the next barb or whatever, by saying I want to stat in these 20 points this way on this sheet, and it makes my barb a survival barb or elemental barb or something like that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that way you're kind of saying, yeah, you have the freedom to build as you will with skills, but you're also locking, and maybe you have restatting that you can do anyways.
Yeah.
You're kind of making a choice to say, I'm going to play my barb, this way with these variations.
Yep. And that's one of those things that we actually, when we started off with Diablo 3 before Reaper, that was actually a big point of contention that I had, is because it felt like um there was no real kind of like I'm trying to think of a word to describe it, but like iconization. I don't know. We're making up words.
We're making things
We're just
up.
making things up, but it's one of those things where we don't have like I'm no longer playing like a trap assassin or a bone necro, or a whirlwind barb. I'm playing a barbarian, and back then, it's like you just had set skills, where I guess back then it was a whirlwind barb. Anyways, moving on. But there's a lot of times it's just like you had like these effective builds, and it's just like I was playing a monk. I wasn't playing like a Wave of Light monk or anything along those lines. I was just playing a monk.
Hmm.
But we've now gotten to that point in Reaper, instead of doing it through having to specialize your character through, a skill tree, it's the gear. The gear
Right.
tells you what you are.
The set that
And-
you're wearing.
yeah, so now I can go through and I can play. Well, I'm a multi-shot demon hunter, or an unhallowed essence demon hunter, or I play marauders, rocket arrow. You begin to start having these designations for these certain skills for classes because of what the set does. And I wonder if that's something that they can do, in the future, with maybe breaking it away from items and putting it somehow back into the actual like skills or customization of the character.
Exactly.
Not saying that having it done through items is a bad thing, because it allows you to quickly swap back and forth, comparatively, between whether I want to run as marauders or multi-shot or what have you. Um, than it would be kind of like having a built into some sort of a skill tree, and then having to swap all of my gear for it as well. But what they might try to tackle it. Or I guess the question that I'm asking is, what is it that they learned, from Diablo 3, and the way that they went and eventually came to the process of having these set kind of like designated builds, which still offered a lot of variety in between how you played, the different sets, like how you gear out your Unhallowed Essence character, or how you play like your Shadows set Demon Hunter, and the kind of like the support skills and passive choices that you chose. What they might do going forward, if there's going to be a way to link it maybe better in between the skills and the items, or if it's something that they liked, having it tied to the items more so than the skills, or is it something that they feel that they can add some sort of talent tree back into the game to give you more feeling of customization, like you making the character a bit, more of yours, so you have a bit higher level of attachment to that character.
All right. And one thing that you just reminded me of too, or at least brought to light, is that you really valued character slots in a system where it's less about the gear and more about the type of character that you're building. And in a game like D3, you more value a stash space system because you need the items to differentiate your character. So I don't know which is worth more in terms of like they have to prop up the system for it more behind the scenes,
Hmm.
but it would make sense too if we wanted to move away from this like infinite need for stash space to actually go back to where your character matters a bit more. I mean, again, you're going to be building more characters, so then maybe by virtue of that, you end up with just as many items being held on to because you have, 25 more characters than you do now. But it's just, I guess, another thing to think about is it really does tie it more to your creation and ownership of that character versus you use one character to find multiple modes of gear or multiple gear setups.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's to tie it all together, I guess, is that we don't know. And I don't think we will know by the time that BlizzCon 2016 is over either. I,
Sadly, yeah.
it's still too early, right?
Yeah, because I mean, you go through and you look at it. Uh, since our last show, there was yet another job listing for like I think it was a lighting artist,
Yeah.
which I think was actually listed previously and then got taken down and is back up. For the lighting artist for this Diablo unannounced project. Um, but it's still a whole bunch of like these higher level kind of like concept positions. So I don't think that they'll even have anything showable at BlizzCon. If they have something for this next Diablo game, whether it be Diablo 4 or I don't know, they could make a new Diablo IP or something completely different. They could take us off, they could take us off guard and actually have something announceable, something else that they've been working on at BlizzCon. But I, I, I don't think we'll see an expansion. I think it's too early for Diablo 4. I think 2016 will probably be um, similar in scope to BlizzCon 2015. A limited number of panels will hopefully have the slaughtered caffeine come back
That'd be
because
great.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
And apparently it is 5 minutes until tickets go on sale. So if you're listening to us live and want to go to BlizzCon, you might want to put us in the background, open up a new tab. I think what is it? It's like universe.com/BlizzCon 2016. I think is the web address for tickets, something like that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, if you're interested in tickets, you probably already have the screen up already. But there's your 5 minute warning. I've done my part. It's all on you now. Um, but I think it's just going to be another kind of like limited year. We'll see stuff that they'll have planned coming out. Like there's the Andariel wings that we saw at
We still
last
haven't
year's
seen.
BlizzCon, which we still haven't seen added into the game. Even
Right.
when there was all the extra cosmetic content that was added in, for this season that got removed, those wings still weren't there.
Yeah.
So is that going to be? Are we going to see some sort of or maybe like patch 2.5 and they'll add in a new zone, kind of like the Grey Hollow Isles, like that will expand. That will go like back to like the Rogue Monastery, maybe, and go through and fight like a resurrected Ondariel and get her wings, and that will be the season, like kind of like the season reward. Who
That
knows?
would be cool.
It would
I
be.
mean, I guess that's a good branch into some of the forthcoming attractions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 2.4.1, by the way, Tuesday was yesterday and it wasn't here, so I think it's pretty obvious that we're going to get it next week, the 26th of April, since it has to be out before the season starts. And everyone should remember that season 6 is kicking off April 29th, which is next week, Friday. So 2.4.1, like you were mentioning in the opener, not a ton of content changes, like big feature type stuff, but interestingly, setting up, I think, for the most promising season that we've had so far. And the reason that I say that is because I think for the player that hasn't done everything yet, you will have the most things to do to date. And when I say that, I mean that there are still set dungeons that if
Mm-hmm.
you haven't done them yet, those are going to be available and they still will be part of the seasonal journey, like we mentioned in the last episode. You'll have some of these really rare cosmetic things to chase down because there are still, we did mention that they removed a lot, like you just said, a lot of the wings that were in the game in the PTR for 2.4.1. But there are still a couple of wings that are rather rare and difficult to farm. So you'll have things like that to kind of chase as you get bored with maybe like GR progression or Paragon farming. So there'll be kind of this variation of activities that you do when you log in. And I remember that was always kind of one of the big things that Josh would harp on early on was, we want you to log in and figure out what you're going to do for that night and have options for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's really happening is that they're slowly building up the playability of all the different features. So bounties gain more in this coming patch because those things can't really be accessed when you're inside of a greater rift. You're not seeing goblins, so you're not going to Whimsydale to find, the purple teddy bear that you need to potentially drop the wings for you. You're not going to farm those areas. You need to be like in adventure mode for that. So it kind of boosts up the desirability to go and do bounties and things like that, even if you already have enough of the legendary crafting mats to make what you want to make. So it'll be an interesting time. I do feel for those who have kind of seen it all, done it all, because once the numbers are tweaked and you just figure out what the next best set is for each class, then at that point you're like, all right, well, I've seen it, I know it. Season 6 won't be that different for me. But at least for I think the majority of the player base that potentially doesn't bum rush all the content right away, this will be like a good season, good patch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that obviously we like to go through and harp on the fact that we don't have like this isn't like a huge content update like 2.4, but it's not supposed to be because that's why it's 2.4.1.
Yeah,
But there will be like a lot of really interesting things to go through and spend some time farming. There's the new pet swings. I think there's even the rainbow portrait that you can go through and
yeah,
get.
yep, yep.
So yeah, if you get burnt out, like you just mentioned, if you get burnt out on your greater rifts, you can go through and you know run what is it, Gardens of Hope 1 like 50 million times to try and get the Falcon wings.
Yeah, that mysterious chest.
Yeah. So
And
yeah.
all the pets and things too, because there's the menagerous goblin that they added in, and again that's going to be an adventure mode only thing and a really low spawn rate. And then I think there are like 22 something pets that they can drop, so you could do that for quite some time.
Yeah, that will give people some reason to go through and maybe run bounties again. Yeah,
Exactly.
after you go through and get your cube set up, you just keep going and going and going,
Just like
going.
the Energizer Bunny. I think one thing that I would like to ridicule, and that's not exactly the word I want to use because it sounds harsh, but something that unfortunately seems to be happening is that I think the four-player meta might be exactly the same again, which is awful. I mean, I know that because there were only a few changes and then some of those changes were pulled back a little. So speaking specifically towards the Twister Sword,
Mm-hmm.
they capped it first with 5 stacks, and maybe that seemed to be too severe, so then they opened it back up to 8 stacks. But whatever they did for that seems to still make it better than anything else that can do DPS. And so we're actually seeing the same meta of 3 supports and a Twister Sword wizard to clear GRs. And the thing is
Wah,
that you're just not
wah.
going as high because you don't have like the spawn infinite health globe setup. But I mean, if the numbers are kind of irrelevant in terms of what GR you're at, right? It's just going to be you do whatever makes you go the highest. If the highest is lower than last season, then so be it. But you're going to push the meta with whatever is clearing the highest content. And I don't know. Unfortunately, it seems like it's going to be like a Groundhog Day thing where you're doing the same thing you did yesterday.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. And I wonder because like right now it's like the supports were it was like the Barb, Witch Doctor, and Crusader, like kind of
Yeah.
like the three top ones.
No, Monk is in there. Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was Barb, Monk, and Witch Doctor. So kind
Yeah.
of like the three main supports are still kind of the three main supports.
Yeah. I'm concerned for the people that care because I have never participated in that meta, but I can understand for people that have been there, done that. It's going to be a bit of a pain to do it again,
Mm-hmm.
to feel like it's the same thing. But I mean, that honestly is a question that we have to ask ourselves: is how willing are we to play essentially what might be the same season? Because that could really be something that we might have to get used to as the changes from patch to patch start to slow down, as things are tweaked to maybe bring everything into line, but there will always be this one thing that's best. And you would like to hope that it would change from patch to patch, but
Mm-hmm.
if it stays the same from one season to another, does that ruin that next season for you? Is, maybe a question that needs to be asked from the players amongst themselves and maybe the players to the devs.
Yeah, I guess that could be one of those things. Is like if you don't like playing a class other than Wizard, and yet hate also playing support at the same time, that could be really annoying.
Hmm.
But I guess it probably won't be as bad for the people that play one of those classes and don't mind support, or like playing DPS Wizard for continuing to play it. But yeah, that would be that would definitely be a bit of an issue there.
Hmm. I'm curious too, though. Could this be one of those instances where people already knew what was good, and because like not that much was changing, that's just what they defaulted to? Like, what if there is some kind of other setup out there,
Yeah,
between all these gem changes and things that actually could be better, and they just haven't found it yet?
yeah, I mean that's something that we did, also see going into season 5, where a lot of the stuff in the meta didn't actually get, hammered out until a couple of weeks in, as they're going and trying stuff about what was the best like support setup, because there were quite a few classes. I think particularly like the Demon Hunter, which got some nice party buff changes, as
Right?
well as like the Wolf going to be becoming a multiplicative bonus for the entire party. Is a huge change, which we might have to wait and see where that works up. Imagine support demon hunters. That'd be that would be weird.
Right. Yeah, we will definitely see because I think it is one of those things where there's the potential the sky's falling, but it really isn't. Where you just need to give the meta time to suss itself out, especially because not everyone is on PTR.
Hmm.
So, once it's released to the masses, you have so many more creative minds kind of approaching the same problem, and there could definitely be other better ways to solve it.
Yeah, and there's also those people that are going out there and hammering out and trying to find what the absolute best is for pushing, and they might have it figured out and not want to tell anybody.
Yeah, and hide it. Yeah, that's true too. We will see.
Yeah.
And you already mentioned some of the cosmetics that we can look forward to, but there will be things to farm in 2.4.1. There was a blog post that Nevilistis authored back on the 14th of April, and it just kind of shows off some of the things we can look forward to. So there are some transmogs that will drop from Greater Rift Guardians and other random sources around the world. There's the Menagerous Goblin, like I was saying, which will drop new pets for you. Someone, of course, it was Quinn. Quinn found this unique monster. I think it was in the Weeping Hollows that drops Live More, and I guess this is like a thing that people think is cool because it's from iZombie. I don't know. I've never. We were discussing before the show started. Like, I don't watch TV because I never get your references, either from TV or movies. But I guess it was kind of like a cool Easter egg because iZombie really likes Diablo. They reference it on their show.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of this cool crossover. They pay homage to the game pays homage to them. I like that.
Cute.
Yeah. So there will be some other things to find, and people have been putting together guides on YouTube, written guides as well. So if you're one of those people that wants to collect everything, like I know I certainly will be trying to, I would definitely pay attention to like Reddit and things like that. Your sources of news that you normally look to for guides and things, or just do it on your own. If you don't want spoilers, try and find it all on your own.
Yeah, there are definitely some people that prefer the level of just getting that amount of exploration. And that actually reminds me, I think it was a conversation I had with Kellerick on Twitter last week about when that whole thing with World of Warcraft and shutting down the classic private servers and such.
Hmm.
It's like there's been a lot of discussion for the past 2 weeks about, oh, Blizzard should go through and do like classic servers that have just like that level of expansion, so you go and play like the old content. And when I go back and I think about it, like a lot of the things that I enjoyed playing like in classic WoW or the Burning Crusade was, at that point in time, there like things like Wowhead and Thoughtbot and MMO Champion weren't that big. Most of everything that you had to go through and do, like trying to find Mankirk's wife, it was just like you know, you didn't know. There wasn't a guide or there wasn't a website that you could go to try and find you or tell you where this information was. You had to figure it out on your own. I didn't even know that there was a raid like Molten Core was a thing, or that they actually had like these big like epic level sets in the game until I saw someone wearing it in a battleground. And I was just like, dang, what the hell? Like that shit's cool. Where'd that come from? It's like Molten Core. What's Molten Core? It's
Yeah,
so the things that I enjoyed, like going back and looking at the older versions, was just like that feeling of exploration and discovery. But yeah, now everything you have all the information just kind of displayed to you, and so the thrill is actually doing it or achieving it more so than exploring or finding it. I wonder if that is, just something of the game or something of just, modern gaming in general.
that's actually a really um, good thing to suss out there, because I remember when set dungeons first were talked about and released, that was one of the things that Wyatt was saying. They included the notes because you can find, so if in case people don't know, you can actually find the entrance to a set dungeon as long as you're wearing the set. You don't actually need to go back to that extension area of Lyrics Manor every time to pick up the note to figure out the clue to go and explore and find the entrance. Like if you just happen, like we did that one time when we were going to fight
It's like
Malthael,
Malthael, yeah.
yeah, and you had the shadow set on, we was just like, oh, your set dungeon's here. Do you want to try it? Like you didn't have the message note picked up yet, but those are in there for the people that are exactly like you mentioned, where they kind of like the idea of the discovery, going out into the world and not necessarily just picking up some guide and saying, teleport here, do X, do this, and now you do this, and then the goal from then on is the achievement of it. I know I am that person because I skipped all, like, once I did the first ones for the Crusader, I think I tried to find them myself, and then after that I was like, nah, internet, tell me where to go. So there definitely are those two camps. But I do, as you were talking about it, I really like that feeling of wearing, something in the game like the wings or the pet, and someone says, "Whoa, what is that? Where did you find that?" And then you get to go through that moment of kind of them reliving the awe that you once had when you first got it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty cool. But yeah, the internet definitely does ruin a lot of that, for better or for worse, because some people aren't trying to find it and it's kind of in their face, and then some people obviously are looking for it in like those resources.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, where that goes, and if because it's not as many. There's not that many of them, but I still remember back before like Diablo 3 came out, and the old DiabloII.net community. I guess it was Diablo Inc. Gamers at the time. The old D2 single player community was like one of the most thriving communities, and it still is like insanely popular. It's
Hmm.
just people that will go through play Diablo 2 single player the entire time, and they'll go and trade with other people, but they have to be like verified accounts of people that are part of the community, so that way they know that the items that they acquired are like legit,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And so it's a lot of interesting things that when people they have their preferred way of playing the game. Like we get emails all the time about people that just prefer to play solo. They know that they won't get anywhere near as fast as playing with a group, but they just prefer to play that way.
Yeah. I remember those days when I was leading that crusade. It's good, I think, to want to play the game the way that you want to play the game, and you should be able to. There shouldn't necessarily be that many drawbacks to any one given way to play, and I feel like we're getting closer to that situation. I'll be very curious after season 6 is over to see how close the paragon of someone who distinctly plays solo only and the people that really run those high level groups, especially if the warning shots of banning all those bots at the end of season 5 carries forward and we don't see as many bots. So the results of the highest paragons achieved and things like that won't be, too murky or clouded up to say who did it legit and who got assisted by bots, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll be really interesting to actually see the true difference between, group is this much more effective versus solo, and if we're slowly narrowing that gap.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll look good.
Yeah, it's when will they continue to save like these bans for the end of the season, or could we see like a random ban, in the middle?
That's and I It's so tough to decide what's better because it kind of works on two different sides. It's better for player morale if the bans happen more often and earlier, because then as the season is continuing, you don't feel as if you're up against the bots because they're being frequently taken out of the system. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it gives the bot makers more information and potentially better ways to get around the protections that Warden offers and things like that if they're banning too frequently. So I don't know. I think I would rather play and know that maybe there will be some bans coming, and therefore not feel discouraged, even if the results at the top of the leaderboard at the time I'm looking may not be completely accurate. Just know that by the time the season is over, it will all be sussed out, because at least then you allow Blizzard to ban in the way that they believe is the most effective, and you should technically still get the same enjoyment out of the season.
Yeah, I think I remember, a lot of the conversation that happened around these bans was that there was an update to Warden that allowed them to go through and find, or basically it expanded its capability of detecting, cheats, hacks, bots, and such by going and seeing how like Diablo is being edited or referenced in like memory. Um, so it's interesting, like there always is going to be, the the bad guys find a way to get around the security system, so they update the security system, and then the bad guys figure out another way, and so then they update the security system. It's
Hmm.
just like how quickly do they want that cycle to process through, and how often that they go, do an update or do a ban, or even if they just want to go and do, bans with the older, updates, without and see if they can catch anybody, without having to go through and reveal their hand for maybe a bigger ban at the end of the season.
Right. I think one thing we'll have to keep an eye on is if they do bans if they do
We're
bans
12.
if they do bans at the end of season 6, because then it kind of sets a precedent, right? Like
Hmm.
you will be banned at some point if you bot. So if they have that kind of threat out there, because the big thing, and Flux was kind of touching on this in one of his podcasts, is you need the deterrent. Not only do you need to be removing people from botting, but you also need to make it seem like a not worthwhile activity to pursue. And that way you don't have to police as heavily, because there's always the threat of it happening, and therefore people should abide by the law more frequently than they try and break it. There will
Hmm.
always be people trying to, get around and cheat and do things that don't line up with the terms of service. But if we can lower the number of people, then maybe the impact won't be as significant.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But hopefully it does, regardless of how they do the ban system, it will just have less people botting this season because the fear of God or the Angira's
Hmm.
council has been put into them.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Hmm.
If the level of competition is the highest it has been, that'll be a really good thing for the health of the community in the game.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Looking
Yes,
forward to it.
indeed. And I wanted to, because I totally forgot about it while we were talking about cosmetics. But dude, the Mercy Wings are all over the place, and oh my god, they
uh,
look so sick.
don't they? It's freaking amazing, and it's like one of those ones. Like it kind of like sucks about wanting to go and get like a physical edition of the game
Yeah,
because you gotta
tell me
wait.
about it.
Everyone else is just like sitting running around. It's like, oh, I got Mercy Wings. Oh, I got Mercy Wings. It's like I gotta wait until May. Yeah.
Yep. So for those of you who haven't seen them yet, the just yesterday actually, those who purchased the Origins edition of Overwatch through the Battle.net shop digitally have the Mercy Wings in game in Diablo now. So you will eventually get them if you have purchased a physical copy. You need to have purchased the Origins edition specifically. It will come with a code that you can then link up to your Battle.net account and get those wings activated. But they are worth it if you haven't. If you honestly like, you're like, I wish Diablo 3 had microtransactions. Well, make this your macro transaction. Pay the $50 or $60 or however much it is for these wings, because they are worth it. Even if you never play Overwatch, but you probably will.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's one of those. It's like I don't know, like when I'll actually get mine because it's the first time that I'm not actually like picking up a physical copy. I'm waiting on shipping to go and get it to me. So I'll
Hmm.
be interested to see how long I have to wait to get it to go and play it around. I I played the beta, a little bit, but I'm bad at first person shooters. So this is kind of like one of those ones that kind of like sucks. That it's like, well, dang. Well, I'll play it a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see how far I get into it.
Yeah. You can play and fail for a bit. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's a Blizzard game. I'll buy into it. Don't care. I purchased I pre-ordered the Nova missions in StarCraft 2 and still haven't played a single one of them.
It's about collection. Eventually, you'll play with all your
Eventually,
shinies.
yeah, eventually I'll get around to it. It's like it's not like I haven't had time in the past couple of days. I've just been playing Hearthstone and emptying out my my seasonal rollover in Diablo.
Oh
So
man,
I'll get around to it.
indeed, indeed.
Yeah,
And we are getting reports that BlizzCon tickets are officially sold out for the first day.
yeah, yeah.
That was
So
fast.
there you go. Well, best of luck on Saturday if you didn't get your tickets tonight or yesterday or the day before, depending upon when you're listening to this. Maybe one day.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, they didn't. I'm trying to think. Like last year, it was always a thing that they would give like some fan sites some tickets to give away like 2 weeks before. Um, the convention, and it was always a difficulty actually trying to give them out because everyone's like, it's like 2 weeks is not enough time to actually go through and request time off and book last minute tickets and hotels in order to get to BlizzCon. I wonder. I don't think last year we saw anything. At least at BlizzPro, we didn't get any tickets to give away. But
No, I don't, and I don't recall really many community. Not that I was paying attention to it
mhm.
really, but I don't recall seeing any like massive. Hey, we have a contest. Submit for tickets or anything.
Yeah, we'll have to see
Hmm,
what they do this year if there's anything that they do have.
indeed. If we can help you guys out, we will certainly let you know.
Yeah. So yeah, if there's anything that we here at the workshop can do if you don't get your BlizzCon tickets, and I guess this is like one of those secrets that I guess I should just probably go and say now. Like, if you don't get a BlizzCon ticket but still want to go and like be a part of it, because there's like half the convention happens in the Hilton lobby, and then there's the con before the storm. Which I guess I probably should mention that the Con Before the Storm is doing a Kickstarter right now,
Hmm.
so there's not a lot of details coming from that little event that happens like the Thursday night before the convention officially starts. They have a Kickstarter going on at the moment to try and fund. Uh, they have a to try and fund the convention. We'll get more details about how big or how many panels and such once that Kickstarter is finished. Um, That'd be something if you want to check it out. I think it's through D20 Crit. If you just go and look up, Con Before the Storm 2016, if that's something that you're interested in. Hopefully this year, we here at the workshop will be involved in it in somehow. So it might be something worth going through and checking out. Um, but there's a lot of things that you can do. The Wowhead party, I think Newegg had a party. There's all this other types of stuff that
Yeah,
you can go and like get a hotel or book a plane ticket out there, and you should see Craigslist in the Anaheim area. Uh, like a couple of days before the convention, or like the Thursday when the tickets actually are available to be picked up, because there's so many people that get tickets and either have friends cancel on them and they can't do anything with it, and so they'll actually sell them, at retail price or below retail price, and still give you the goodie bag at the convention that you can go through and easily get. So it might be something if you don't get tickets this time around, fret not. You will still have the opportunity to potentially get them either through, I think there's like the one community looking for group BlizzCon or looking for BlizzCon, as
yeah,
well as just buying tickets like at the door from somebody, because you have a couple of months to change the user information through the website for who purchased the tickets for what. But once you actually get there, all you need is just like a photo ID, and you can change the tickets to anybody that you want.
exactly. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of. I feel like one of the things that I started to realize after a while is that you shouldn't really fret if you want to go because where there's a will, there's a way. Like there are so many resources, and even like Miss Cheetah was saying, if you just virtual ticket, like you go out to BlizzCon, you buy the virtual ticket, which is still something we haven't heard detailed info about yet, but that's coming. And then you just hang out at night. Like there are access to people after the con is over because everyone, like you said, is milling about different hotel bars, different parties, etc. Like it's not hard to have a good experience. Regardless of whether you secure a ticket today or a day before or somewhere in between.
Yeah, it's like if you just come out and hang out in the Hilton lobby, you can go through and just kick back and have some drinks, with Steven and I, and then you can, compare photos of the convention and get people drinks because they decided to put one in front of your foot and you knocked it over. But anyway,
So
and
you want to
maybe,
talk about?
maybe, just maybe, they might actually be able to do a decent Moscow Mule at the Hilton Bar this time. Just
Wow,
saying.
shots fired.
Just saying.
Wow, nine balls coming for you, bartenders of it. Oh my goodness. All right, did we want to touch on anything else? There's a
Ah,
decent amount of news items this week.
yeah, not that I can think of at the moment. Is there anything else that you had? I guess there was like the one thing that stirred up a little bit of controversy that we didn't talk about is the end of the era.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Forgot about that. That's
Yeah.
right. So normally, the era end when so the era is kind of what marks the non-seasonal leaderboard progression and things like that. and the seasonal end are linked. But this time around, for some reason, they decided to do it differently, and season 5 ended, and then Era 5 is actually still active. Even right now, you can go
Hmm.
and participate in Era 5, and those boards will close the day before season 6 starts, so the 28th of April. And I remember in the past that we were talking about whether this was kind of controversial because I think maybe it was season 3 where there was like a little window, maybe like 2 or 3 days, where you could play on the era with your seasonal characters that had rolled over. And back then, I think it was a bit more controversial because you were able to take some of those season only items or builds, things that were kind of built up around things that were only available in season,
Hmm.
and have like a little bit of a leg up on the non seasonal people. But now that there's no exclusivity really between season and non season, I wonder if it's that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah, it's hard to say because even if you were going through and playing in season when you roll over, uh, it's like you'll have a higher paragon. But then again, if you're just if you're a non-seasonal player, you would have all of that already. Because you were already playing and you had the experience. So there's not really much of a benefit between season and non-season. But it was, I want to say that was it going into season 5 or maybe it was going into season 4 that they had originally intended the era to not end. And when the season ended,
Oh
and it
yeah,
created a large amount of controversy and kickback. So they went back and changed it so the era would end at the same time.
that's right. I think they were going to actually carry because they were saying all along that they didn't necessarily want eras to line up with the end of seasons. Like they could actually potentially span 2 seasons or some period of time that was beyond just lining up with a start and end of a season.
Hmm.
But that seemed to be a very unpopular thing. I remember like Jake back when he was really like the vanguard of non-season, was one of the loudest voices on kind of equity for the non-seasonal leaderboards. So I don't know. I haven't really seen people. I just noticed some forum posts where people were like, "Hey, is this a bug? Why didn't the era end when the season ended?" And it didn't really seem like people were mad. It was more that they were just like, "Why is this happening?" They were confused.
Hmm.
So just something to dig up from the community, and I guess we'll see if there is backlash in the end. I kind of observed it being like peculiar because coming out of seasonal, obviously my character died, so I didn't really have like any way to go and quickly compete on the non-seasonal era leaderboard. But I rebuilt it and I was able to like climb way up on the non-seasonal hardcore crusader leaderboard. And something tells me though that it just wasn't a popular leaderboard in general because most people are probably playing seasons,
Hmm.
since there really isn't that difference, and you actually get the benefit of obtaining the stash space in season, so you have more reason to really go season than non-seasonal. But yeah, I don't know. It was just weird to like all of a sudden like, yeah, I'm now also occupying spaces on this leaderboard too, even though I didn't necessarily participate in the era the whole time.
Yeah, I
So
don't know. It's one of those like how much maybe it's a change they did just based on how many people are playing seasons and how many people aren't playing seasons.
could be,
Yeah,
yeah,
it'd
maybe
be
just
It's like because this is something that they have kind of. I guess it's not so much that they've changed their philosophy, but they have changed the way that they're doing it. It would be interested to hear exactly why they decided that it's okay for the era to not end at the same time that the season does.
hmm
Because I can understand if some people feel a little bit slighted, because they going through and we're doing all of this work and they were like rank 9 in the era, and then all of a sudden someone dropped out of the season who was rank 1 in the season and then came in and ended up getting also third place in the era leaderboard.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly, kind of like a little double dip.
Yeah.
So controversy or not, you be the judge.
Yep. But, and then I guess one last little thing to go through and mention, see if I can find it here, is just if you remember the Awesome Games Done Quick that ran earlier this year, they are going to be coming back and for the Summer Games Done Quick in July, and Diablo 2 will again be making an appearance in the speed run. Mr. Llama SC will be doing another Diablo 2 speed run, but this time as a druid. for
Nice.
the summer games done quick coming. I believe he'll be playing July 9th. So if you want a little bit of Diablo nostalgia and want to watch a stream or donate for a good cause, there you have it.
It's definitely always a fun event to check out. Those speed runs are so much fun, and I love that Diablo's getting some love there again. I guess the first time around must have been successful for them to bring it back.
Yeah, yeah, it's for them to actually want to go through and invite people out, and that was I missed it, for the awesome games done quick. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Oh, there are
Maybe.
VODs. You should check it out.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's all that I've got. I don't know if you have anything else before we move on to our community section here.
Let's community.
All right.
I'm ready to commune.
All right. Let me go through and find here. Oh, trying to find the first email, but I'm not seeing it.
I think it's near the top. Or you just pick a
Oh,
different one.
actually, I think that email we actually covered last week.
Oh,
Yeah, that was the update because of it got put back into the queue because of the clan request. But I believe that one we actually had already talked about last week.
alrighty then. On we go. I will take mine then. We have an email that's coming in from Triumph, and he's giving his season 5 replay slash review and some item of the week, perhaps. So, message starts with a sup, fellas. I'd have to give season 5 a hearty thumbs up for the most part. I went into it with just one real goal, and that was to get that stash tab. I played hardcore for the first time in a season, in season 4, and while I enjoyed the lure of the extra stash tab for most of my softcore tunes, 11 versus 3, it was too great to ignore. Plus, if I lost a character in gear in pursuit of my goal, I would have raged pretty hard. So anyway, mission achieved. After about a month of occasional grinding, I reached a GR60, which is the first for me, and I only play solo and don't push too hard. I had one more conquest to go, so after beginning to gear a DH so I could do Sprinter, I actually got a Gilded Baron on T10 on my Crusader, and I cleared 50 million gold for Avarice instead, which was nice.
Yay!
Woot woot. I was about Paragon 400 when that happened, and I was in need of a new goal, so I just decided to grind out to 600, which I hit over this past weekend. I enjoyed playing the Crusader at the start of the season, but then I got bored with Thorn's gameplay, and fortunately, the Wizard got a ton of improvements this season, so I was able to run my preferred class from Vanilla D3, and I had a lot of fun playing a janky, non-optimal Tal Rasha's melee build that used the Fragment of Destiny, Simplicity Strength, the Shame of Delcir, and Depth Diggers in the cube to really power out some crazy numbers. It's not a build that's going to push leaderboards, but for speed farming death spreads on T10, it was pretty awesome because you can take advantage of Sage as well. That's my Season 5 review, and one other thing, I actually really enjoyed the Rebirth feature. Not as big a deal if you mostly slash exclusively play hardcore, but for us softcore man children, it helps save character slots. I'm looking forward to Season 6, where I'm planning to play DH, Monk, and probably Wizard again. I am concerned a little bit about how they're choosing to power creep with adding skill damage to items and now going back into making bonuses multiplicative as opposed to additive, but we'll see how it plays out, I guess. And finally, enclosed, please find a pretty okay Ancient Wand of Woe. I found on my seasonal wizard Pimento. That's a fun
Whoa.
name. Whoa! I name all of my wizards after various cheeses for some unknown reason. What? You must know. You started it. I don't understand. In any case, thanks again for being a cool, positive part of the community. Triumph. Thank you for the email. That was a fun one.
Yeah, that definitely was. I like the cheese thing. It's nice if you have like a naming convention for your characters.
Hmm. Some of them come from nowhere.
Yeah,
And
some who knows. And also what you call it? I actually use, even though I play exclusively hardcore, I used all of my season rebirths this last season. I used all three of them.
as did I. As
Yeah,
did I. Yeah.
and I just like, want to see how far I can take one character without dying.
It's fun. It is nice to have that continuation. Gain some more hours. Maybe, like you were saying last episode, you'll surpass that softcore monk someday.
Yep, one day I'll surpass it, and then they'll die. and then I'll just have to like bite the bullet and say, screw it. Okay, Tasha, you had a good run, but I need someone else at the front of my career page.
There you go.
Yep. And this next email comes in from Psycho. He just wanted to go through and say that he's really been enjoying the podcast, listens mostly at work, and that he and his friends are getting back into Diablo 3 for Season 6. He wasn't sure if we played hardcore or not. We do. Definitely
Just a
do.
little bit.
Just a little bit. But he joined our community chat earlier today. Was hoping to see if we had a clan spot open. Which I don't know if they have gotten in since we sent that email back in. But yeah, clan spots are filling up very quick.
Yeah.
In preparation for the new season coming up next week, the 29th, April 29th, if you weren't sure already when the new season would be started. But yeah, he also just wanted to say that he was able to stay on the solo leaderboards for monks this season, and he's really looking forward to getting into the group meta for season 6. So yeah, best of luck on that one, Psycho, and hopefully we'll see you in the clan sometime soon.
Awesome. All right, I'll head over to the next email. It's coming in from Archer75, who actually is a newly minted member of the clan. So welcome in. He writes in and says, my Battle.net name is Archer75, and I've been listening since the beginning of Season 5. I've enjoyed listening to you guys, and I really like how you guys seem to be willing to help out people in your clan. I've been a solo player since the beginning of S4, Season 4, and have never been in a clan, so I sent in an invite and I hope to be let in. I don't have any idea how clans work, how to join a group, or if I need help doing bounties, or how I would go about starting a group to do that. So any info on how being in the clan works would be great. Thanks a lot, guys. And then there's also a PS. I've totally forgot to say this above, but I started Season 5 as a wizard. I ended up not liking the playstyle of the current meta, even though I did the Arcane Orbit version of Delcyr's Magnum Opus. I ended up starting a monk, and I've really enjoyed playing Legacy of Nightmares Wave of Light builds, by far my favorite playstyle. And as far as my season journey, I was able to get up to Conqueror. I had no problem with my set dungeon mastery I did in a set, and really enjoyed doing it, but I was unable to find Greed at T10. I only found him once this season, but that was in T3 or so no stash tab for me. Darn.
Darn.
Also, yeah, that sucks. Also, as a solo player, I really don't like doing bounties because they take so long to do all 5 acts, and as a result, I hardly ever did them, and so I never found greed. A couple more questions, though. Does your clan require voice chat in groups, and if so, what do you use, and what is the playstyle you guys have found to be the most fun? As an example, I really am not a fan of Melee Wizard, that's kind of ironic, but have had a blast with the Ranged Monk. Thanks again, you guys. So a couple of questions here that we can answer. As far as how clans work, they really work however you want them to work. I know that a lot of people are hesitant when they first join to kind of say what they want, but the best way to really get things going, if you just want a conversation, just start talking. If you want a group, say, I would like to do XYZ. I'm thinking about doing it on, X difficulty. I play hardcore, softcore, seasonal, non-seasonal, even though we can tell by the little icons next to your name too. And from there, people will say, yeah, I want to join up, or no, I'm in the middle of this greater rift, or sorry, I'm only going to be on for another 5 minutes. And normally from there, you can figure out if you're going to get a group together or not. If not, maybe you switch tasks or so, or there's just it's really your oyster. It's your clam to to
I see what
dig
you
the
did there.
pearl out of if you try hard enough.
Which, speaking of which, if since like the last episode we got partnered, we now have the Westmarch Workshop has its own emote for Twitch chat, and that is clam chat.
Clam chat.
Yep, which is a little clam saying Ogchilds because why not?
Shout out to Dreadscythe for that design. It's quite beautiful.
It is.
Let's see. The other question in here, or a couple of other questions. One was about voice chat. This is a little plug. We do use Discord for the Blizz Pro clan / for Blizz Pro in general. So I would highly recommend joining Discord, and the link for that is discord.blizzpro.com. And that should take you to like an invite code that's perpetual. You can always use that to join our Discord server. And from there, especially once season 6 gets kicked off, you'll see some people grouping up in chat. And there's like a visual chat, so you can type in and leave messages for people. But then there's also the voice chat, which you can utilize to group up with people and talk. And then last but not least, what play styles have you guys found to be the most fun? Nineball, what do you find to be the most fun?
I really enjoy. I guess like for me, I play a lot of Demon Hunter. I like Marauders. I like Marauders. Nice, safe play style. But other than that, I guess kind of like more of like a real life play style. Just like I don't know. I enjoy playing in groups, but I end up playing towards the end of the season. I play mostly solo just because of work and other stuff getting in the way. I might only have 15, 30 minutes to go through and play, so I log in and do a couple riffs, like on my own,
Hmm.
just while I have time.
Yeah, I think it's that's the kind of thing too. Like you have to be willing to oscillate a little bit, like based, and that's kind of what I was getting at too. Is like based on what either people in the clan are doing, or like your friends list, or just the time of day that you're playing at. You can have various levels of availability of people to play with or not. So I think being prepared to play solo and also potentially jump into a group is good for your experience within the game. You'll get kind of to play on different play styles because I actually will notice that I play very differently when I'm in a group. Like it's a lot less about being the most efficient and being like very perfected ways of going about. Like my I guess my less than perfect, but like my methods of how I play are very particular. Like I'll always go to a certain act for like my town stashing and salvaging and things like that, and I'll
Like
always start. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just about to say, like Act Two, it's the best. Don't care
Or
what you have to
Act
say.
One.
Act Two,
Or Act One.
Chaldeum.
Oh my goodness, we're gonna fight. Or I always start like certain bounties a certain way and different
Hmm.
things like that. So, you kind of throw a little bit of that to the wind when there's the chaos of many other players in your game, and it's fun to just break it up from that. So I would say, yeah, just trying out different, especially playing with other different people too. Like some groups are very different from other groups, and you'll get exposed to a lot of different play styles. For me personally, I really like Melee, so I really and not Super Smash Brothers, but I do actually love Super Smash Brothers Melee. But in any case, like Barbarian was my one of my first classes that I really played a ton of in Vanilla D3. So I really liked kind of like being up in the face of enemies and smashing them. And I kind of what I think the reason why I loved the Crusader so much was before Crusader was there, my two favorites were Barb and Demon Hunter, and that was very much like the extreme opposites of being right up in the thick of battle and trying to kite and be as far away from battle as possible. Because you remember Demon Hunters from back in the day, they couldn't like do anything. Like if you got hit, if you got looked at, you
Yeah, if
died.
you got looked at the wrong way, just bam, dead.
So it was such a interesting spectrum of being able to like tank up and wear a shield as a bard back in the day, versus that really kitey flighty playstyle of Demon Hunter. And I feel like the Crusader really brought both together, because you could play very much in the melee setup with Condemn and things like that. But then also, like when Stampede was really popular, that was a range build for Crusaders. And when I was using my favorite skill, Fist of the Heavens,
Hmm.
that was very much a range playstyle as well too. So
Still waiting for that Fist of the Heavens set.
we
I, I,
need
I,
it.
I don't know if you plan on introducing any additional sets, Blizzard, but please, we need a Fist of the Heavens set.
That'd be so fantastic.
It,
Or
it
if you
would.
don't do it, just make what do we need? Like 11 more items that all have to do with Fist of the Heavens so that we can do a lawn set for
Exactly. That's all we
it.
need. That's all that there is. I mean, if you go through and if you do something like that, you can even potentially make an Akrats, or an Akon's set that
Yeah,
goes around Fist of the Heavens just with the supporting items.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I'm waiting.
So,
We'll wait.
so yeah, we'll be right here. Blizzard, we're right here. Team three, Josh, Wyatt, Travis, we'll be waiting. You know where to find us. If you need any notes or suggestions, you can look us up.
Got you covered.
Got you covered. We're right here. Was there any other questions in that email?
We got it.
Okay, so this next one is coming in from Darkmoor. Sup, fellas? Thank you for this great podcast you guys, or Leviathan's dog, do every week. Getting the meta commentary. Got it. I like it. I look forward to it every week, and I usually listen at work, but I have on occasion listened while doing yard work around the house. Well, it is our pleasure to go through and try and make your yard work easier. I just wanted to take a minute to share a bit of my season 5 journey with you and with the community. My goal for this season was to reach Conqueror. Blizzard dangled that stash tab in my face, and I had to go for it. Previous to this season, my highest Greater Rift ever had been level 36 and a Paragon level of 293. That was playing softcore. I don't have a lot of time to play due to work, wife, chores around the house, etc., so I was not sure if I'd make it, but I did. Barely. With the XP boost and Hadric's Gift, I got off to a really good start, and by mid-season, I was easily clearing Greater Rift 56, and my only worries were going to be the 4 and 5 minute Torment 10 clears and the two conquests that I had chosen, Avarita and Superhuman. I mastered my Invoker set dungeon on the first try, so I was set there, and then I died. I tried a Greater Rift 57, got a cave map, ran into some elites with a Waller and Arcane, and got trapped. I did have a full set of backup gear, but no Ancients and no level gems. As the season went on, Ancients were just not dropping for me, and with 2 weeks left, I was still struggling with Greater Rift 56. I got Avarita through running the Ruins of Corvus with a gold skin and a level 46 Boon of the Hoarder on Torment 8, but I was getting nowhere on the Superhuman Conquest, and at my Torment 10 4 and 5 minute clears, my best being 5:32 according to the timer on my phone. Huge thanks to Leviathan for his Legacy of Nightmares bombardment build guide on YouTube and for the suggestions that the build for T10 speed farming. I got my T10 clears and my Superhuman Conquest done the same day using that bombardment build. I have been saving every ancient legendary I found out of the season in anticipation of playing around with these Legacy of Nightmare builds, and luckily I have every piece for the build except for the Hexing Pants and the Saint Archus gauge. I have had an ancient stone gauntlets and regular hexing pants, which I use instead. And for superhuman, I just switched out the rings for Unity and a Justice Lantern. I cleared Greater Rift 45 with ease. I spent all the remaining time in the season just running Rift after Rift, looking for gear upgrades for my Invoker set, leveling my gems, and cleared Greater Rift 60 in little over 12 minutes. I managed to go through at 7:27 on April 15th, finishing Conqueror and reaching my goal.
Wow.
Dang, that is cutting it close within 30 minutes of the end of the season there if you're on East Coast. Um, I just wanted to say in regards to clan chat that giving words of encouragement to your clanmates might not seem like much help when you're giving them, but you might not realize how much help those words are. But those words of encouragement that I got from several clan members, shout out to Bell and what is that, Togs Nuts?
Oh, so gaze nut.
Togaze Nut. There we go. Got it. All right. Really helped me there at the end of the season. Thank you, and sorry for the wall of text. So yeah, thank you for going through and sharing your season 5 experience there, and showing one of those like kind of like benefits that you get when in a clan without that you can't like weigh or put into a metric or something. It's just like that encouragement that you get because we've besides going through and kicking people due to inactivity, I think we've only had like just a couple, like not even like 5 people that have been banned from the clan due to being assholes.
That's a great point. I was talking to, shoot, I'm gonna forget the name unfortunately, but I was talking to somebody just about like the quality of the clan, the people that have been there from very early on. Because we have had some people that stayed active the whole time or came, had inactivity, but then managed to rejoin the clan as well.
Hmm.
And just the idea that we've had this really solid core of people, some come and go, but for the most part, we really haven't had any like bad personalities. There've been a couple of times, like you mentioned, where some people just rub other people the wrong way or
Yep.
try too much to impose their will on other players and stuff. But I think it's we've been lucky, I would say, just with kind of the vast amount of idiocracy on the internet. Our clan has not experienced much of that, which has been really great. It's been a
Hmm.
really fun environment to kind of play Diablo in.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want to come in and be social and help and encourage people, this is a clan for you. If you want to come in and just be a solo player and go through and watch everyone being just kind of like lovable morons in clan chat, that also is perfectly fine. But if you want to come in and start shit and go through and disparage others, then this definitely is not the clan for you.
Even though we kid about dicks, we don't like dicks.
There you go. Some
Um,
people in the clan might like dicks, not those types of dicks, but those types of dicks, and that is perfectly fine.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and read the next email. Whew, things are getting hot in here.
Huh.
Um, let's see. So just
Getting hot and heavy.
oh boy, this next
Uh-huh.
one comes in from Mihai, and he says, "Hey guys, Mihai here from Romania, a overseas listener, watching the show since Archon was still in your roster. Sad to see him leave, but you guys make up for it. Love the show. It keeps me warm in those cold, lonely rifts. See, it's getting hot in here." If I can make a suggestion, though, bring more guests to the show. As much as I love you two knuckleheads, pardon my French, bouncing, bouncing wisdom from the tome of D3 knowledge, there's nothing more intriguing than having one guest with a different philosophy of the game. Get Quinn, Chainer, since I mostly play Barb, and Scar Sadie, hi hi. Owl Kaiser, even the smaller streamers like Lord Fluff, who seems like a knowledgeable guy. I think the listeners do want some insights in the way other players approach the game and play the game in general. All in all, great show. Keep up the good work. And in the words of the great philosopher and poet Flux, moo. Thanks for that email, Mia. That was awesome. He also submitted some potential items of the week.
Yeah, which we'll show here in just a little bit.
Awesome. And yeah, we were saying that we did want to get some guests for sure. We were trying to line one up for tonight, but unfortunately that did not transpire. But never fear, we will continue our quest to bring you guys exciting and new and interesting guests because we agree that it's nice to kind of mix things up, get a triumvirate of voices, and add that different element that might potentially bring up things that we don't see or that, if we are in agreement, someone might disagree and that could lead to some interesting discussion.
Yeah, definitely. It's always nice having a dissenting opinion or something or a different point of view that we might not have thought about. Because I guess
Exactly.
that's one of those things. Is like for most things we end up agreeing on a lot of stuff, and I know that could probably get boring for listeners. But you listen to us anyways because we're entertaining. Who can turn away a 2 hour conversation about dicks? I mean, just to go through and let's just fully embrace it now.
Oh yeah,
Um,
fully embrace
fully
dicks,
embrace the
huh?
fully embrace the dicks. I like.
Great.
I don't know if I like where this is going.
You might.
Who knows? Yeah, there. It's just out there now. It's just flopped out there in the open for
Oh
everyone
my
to go
god.
through. Oh, all
I'm
right.
so sorry because we are still 12 years old,
We
even
are.
even
Well,
though time passes.
yeah, just note Forever 12. Forever 12. You know how they have Forever 21? This is just Forever 12.
Oh, it's the reverse. I like that.
There, exactly. All right. But yes, I guess continuing on, moving away from a conversation about phallic-like objects. Our next email comes in from Juno Reactor. With all the talk about BlizzCon, we actually ran into him at last year's BlizzCon, and hopefully we'll go through and we'll look at him. We'll be able to get to see him again at this year's BlizzCon with hopefully some other fans of the show. Would love it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And he went and wanted to go and share his thoughts about season five. As my season five went pretty good. I got to greater of 70 on my hardcore witch doctor, which put me at rank 373 on the seasonal leaderboard. I also managed to get to
Nice.
Paragon 763. I was able to get that extra stash space, but didn't complete the Guardian seasonal journey. I feel the pain there. I'm right there with you. But I did have an idea that Diablo 3 could implement. I was thinking about a weekly challenge mode where each week there's a different challenge to be completed. This challenge mode is kind of like the weekly Tavern Brawl in Hearthstone or the new challenge mode in Overwatch. Although the weekly challenge mode wouldn't be the main way of playing the game, it would be a nice change. The weekly challenge mode, in my vision, would be something that is quick and fairly easy to accomplish. Here's some examples of goals that you could go and set forth. Find X number of legendaries in X amount of time. Find X number of death breaths in X amount of time. Complete X amount of bounties. Open X amount of chests. Find and click X amount of shrines or pylons. Destroy X number of barrels. Yada yada yada. There could be other challenges such as killing X amount of certain enemies using a particular item. Whether you have like a natural ring equipped, or maybe say like a Rakanishu's blade or something like that. There could also be different rule sets that each challenge mode could do, using a preset character or randomized skill set, or only using weapon slots with no armor available. The main purpose of the weekly challenge is to reward players that try this mode, so offering a reward after the first completion might be ideal. Reward for completing this challenge mode could be Death's Breaths, Forgotten Soul. It could be Ramaladni's gifts, Roderick caches, cosmetic items. But the challenge mode could even offer the extra stash space that players were not able to get during previous seasons. Um, I think this would help these players who do not play seasons but still play non-season. Another idea for this weekly challenge mode would be like a co-op mode or PvP mode. Maybe a certain week players need to form a group of 4 to achieve one of the above goals, or another week they have to challenge each other, with whoever can find X amount of legendaries within a certain amount of time in the same game wins the challenge. And that this could be the format of some sort of PvPvE that Diablo could use and that has been talked about for such a long time. This challenge mode could keep players playing the game for a long time, since every week there'd be a new way to play the game. The problem right now in Diablo is that once the season starts, there are a lot of players, but after a month into the season, most of them have stopped playing. I know that some people want a season that is maybe a week long, such as Path of the Exile does, but this could just be an alternative. Thoughts?
I like it. I mean, this is something I think that we've seen different iterations of within the community as an idea that gets floated. Um, One thing that I noticed Replay mention was someone I think mentioned this idea to Wyatt, and it got shut down because there would be that one person that was busy all week and missed a challenge or something. But I feel like if you want to use real world examples, use tavern brawls, right? Because they're already implemented, and they rerun some of the same tavern brawls that they've had previously. So I've seen like the one where it's all um, unstable portals, and you just keep spawning random minions from those. That one has come back a couple of times. So even if someone misses one, it's not to say that it wouldn't ever crop up again. But before we even tackle like the things that would be the niche bad things about it, I think as an idea on the whole, it's nice because it gives you reasons to go out into the world and to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And I think whenever you challenge a Diablo player to break from the norm, that's when the game is at its most interesting in terms of offerings. It's kind of the same thing that we're harping on with the introduction of all these cosmetics that are on the rarer side to get. It's going to give you another thing to treasure hunt, and that is at the crux of what this game is about, right? Just going and finding things, getting things, collecting things, and then how you use them, differs based on what it is, and that's kind of where the game diverges a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
at the heart of Diablo is going and finding things. So if there are more things to find, or more interesting ways to do it, or different ways to do it, that's huge. And to me, it honestly sounds like this could just be an extension of ideas that were introduced in set dungeons, but just outside of set dungeons. Because it's kind of like some of those quirky objectives of, use X skill a certain number of times against a certain amount of enemies or something to that effect. This is that, but just like maybe in the environment or in a specific zone or against a certain level of monsters or whatever. So I don't see why not. And maybe you don't even go as far as to implement a brand new idea or mode like this, but just expand on what's already there. So like take set dungeons. I think we've said this before. Take set dungeons and give them replayability. Give us more
Mm-hmm.
reasons to go in there. Even like what was that idea you had one time of like a set dungeon, based on like Blackthorns or something that's not even
Yeah,
class
something that's
class
not in a
dependent.
class one. Yeah,
Yeah.
something kind of like class neutral.
Exactly. So that way you just, you have reasons to replay content that is actually already there. And it just kind of it's a shame to see when they implement things that are cool or at least different, and it's only a one-time thing. So once you complete it, you never have a reason to really go do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I do like the idea of kind of like having something that changes, or some like new challenge mode content. Yeah, is something that would change periodically, like throughout the course of a season, just to keep things interesting. I'm not sure if they could keep up with like a weekly challenge mode unless they have
Right.
some sort of like big framework built into the system that they can easily go through and tweak and change things. in order to do that, kind of like a more advanced version of bounties.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe they actually have something similar to this in like the free to play servers, like the Chinese servers and such. They do have a weekly challenge. I'm
Oh,
not exactly sure what like the goals of it are, but that's one of the ways that they acquire platinum, which is like the real money currency on those servers. You can acquire platinum completing these weekly challenges.
huh. If we have any listeners who have access to that side of the game, that would be interesting if they could write in and let us know.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's something that they do kind of have out there, but I don't know. It might be something of just like killing X bosses within a period, but it is. I believe that already is set as like a weekly thing. It could even be like a little. You go into the old realm of trials, and it has different sets of things that you could do.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, because that still is space that was once occupied is no longer doing anything. There's a lot of potential.
Yeah, and it
Yes.
could, it could go through and offer just like some cosmetic rewards, or I think, because some of the things that they're talking about in chat and such about people that might miss a week because of work and such, so they might not be able to play the game within that period and get that weekly challenge. Like some cosmetic stuff might not be um, the best way because it would make people feel bad because they missed it. And from what people are saying, that's something that Wyatt has shot down previously for that reason. But maybe if you did something like a Herodric Cache or a Ramaladni's Gift as that reward, that's something that isn't that big. It's something that will be nice, so you get a little bit of a reward for going through and doing something different or fun. So you might not feel compelled to do it. Just like with the Tavern Brawl and Hearthstone, it's just a classic pack, so it might not be something that you even care to do week to week.
Hmm.
Um, or it might be something that, after you get uh, that one reward, then if you do the Tavern Brawl anymore, there's no additional benefits from it. But people just like playing that alternative play style. So
Exactly.
it could be something that could be developed or worked into. I guess the really big question for that one is like, how much are they going to focus? Where the focus is for developing content for D3, and at what point is it will fully shift gears into D4?
Right, yeah. Or even if someone comes up with a grand idea for D3, would it be the kind of thing where it's just like, yeah, actually that would be cool in the game, but we're just gonna delay that and throw it into D4? Like when is that moment where Zelda for the Wii U just becomes Zelda for NX?
Yeah, which if you are still expecting that Zelda to come out for the Wii U, I'm sorry. It probably is going to be a Twilight Princess where it'll get released for both consoles, but you'll be you'll be missing out if you don't get it for the NX or whatever it
The
has.
new system, yeah. Oh man. All right. One more email here came in from a berserker. And he says, "Howdy, fellas. Been a while since I've written in. Last time was October. And though it's about time to change, or thought it's about time to change that, season 5 was decent to me. Once I was able to get into the season, I got hit with some medical issues at the end of the year, and that made me miss the last month of season 4 and the first 3 weeks of season 5. Nothing serious, just a long recovery time, and I've gotten a clean bill of health at this point. It's good to hear.
Very
Because of
good.
my forced hiatus, I finished season 4 at Paragon 627 and GR57 finish, personal best for both categories. For season 5, I started with a Thorn Satyr, and then I changed into a UEDH. We hit both of our sensibilities there
Aw.
after a few weeks. As I had never played one before, I finished season 5 at Paragon 700 and GR70, getting me my first Guardian season journey. Nice. Congrats. For patch 2.4.1 and season 6, I'm leaning towards Barb first, but I still might change my mind. I'm hoping that I can get all set dungeons mastered before the patch drops, and I only need to do 7 more to get the wings. Until then, I can at least rock the green wispy Wings of the Dedicated I got for completing all 24 set dungeons a few weeks ago. Speaking of the wings, I so want the Mercy Wings, but I have zero interest in playing Overwatch, so I'll be missing those beauties. I recently installed Discord.
Dude.
Maybe we can meet up there at some point if I ever stop playing air guitar long enough to whatever music I'm blasting to. Maybe I'll use the voice chat. P.S. Leviathan, I'm going to PAX East this weekend, so maybe I'll run into you at the Blizzard booth. Nice. Definitely reach out and we will meet up and hang out. Maybe take a picture or something. Should be sweet. Yeah, you know what? I think there are going to be people that buy Overwatch for the wings, even if they're not necessarily going to play Overwatch.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you look at people that play World of Warcraft that play nothing but World of Warcraft, and they buy like the collector's edition or the digital deluxe edition of every other game that comes out just for like the in-game pet.
It's true.
Yep.
There are a lot of collectors out there.
Yeah.
I
So
wonder.
I would not be surprised. I mean, it's like what is it? I think the online like the digital Origins edition is $60.
Yeah, it was either like 59.99 or 49.99. I can't remember. Somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
So I mean, yeah, you too can own a pair of those wings for the low price of only $60.
Yeah, microtransactions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it would
How
maybe
much
be.
are you willing to pay for a set of wings in Diablo 3?
I'm saying though, it could be cool, honestly, if we find the wherewithal to do like a giveaway or something. Maybe we could give away a copy of Overwatch, if not solely for people to get Mercy Wings.
Yeah, that who knows? Maybe we
Stay
could do
tuned.
that. Stay tuned. And hey, if you go through and you spend $60 on your Overwatch wings, you also get this included with that. You get a copy of Overwatch.
Whoa,
I know, right?
bonus.
Dang, man. I get wings for Diablo 3 and a video game? Darn. I
What a
say
time to
darn
be.
as opposed to damn when I just spent like 15 minutes making dick jokes on a podcast.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's an interesting level.
I don't know. I have no idea what happened there. Ah, so I believe that is it. So this will move us on to our items of the week, I do believe. Sorry,
Uh,
sorry. Items of the week!
weak. I was
Uh,
wondering if you were gonna skip it. I was like, wow, it's bold.
can't skip it. I just forgot. That's all.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you don't have that many items to go through this week, but as we mentioned earlier, we have a wand of woe
Oh,
that was sent in by Triumph, and this bad boy clocks in at 2,886 DPS, has been re-rolled for 10% weapon damage, 839 intelligence, 894 vitality, increases explosive blast damage by 99%, the secondary property of 1.6% chance to freeze enemies on hit, and of course the legendary property of 3 additional explosive blasts are triggered after casting explosive blast. Does not have a Happy Meal equipped on there for a socket, but yeah, that still is a beautiful thing.
solid wand of whoa.
Whoa. Whoa. And something just happened there. That clicked the wrong button, it seems. But that doesn't mess up things too much. But continuing on with our little wizard trend here, we have Sergeant Psycho sent in this Aetherwalker. It's not ancient, but still, we don't discriminate here. This one is 2005 DPS, has 725 intelligence, 747 vitality, increases damage against elites by 5%, increases maximum arcane power by 13, and the legendary property of that teleport no longer has a cooldown, but instead costs 25 arcane power.
A fun wand. I've actually not been able to find one of these, and you're like, well, why would you? You don't play wizard, but I do. I've been trying out some different classes. Not spoilers for season 6, by the way. Don't get excited. But
Yeah.
I wanted to get a little like speed thing together for a wizard, but I haven't been able to find a Aetherwalker. Probably should just use my ridiculous amount of mats to craft a wand, but I refuse. I just want to find it.
You, there you go. You have your methods and you're sticking to it.
That's right.
Yeah, and again, it's like for that, I definitely I'm just playing Demon Hunter and maybe a little bit of Witch Doctor in the next season.
Jeez, you're
Just
just
like
giving away no mystique.
no mystique. Speaking of which, we actually have to have a discussion about what we're going to be doing for the season stream.
That's gonna be all next episode, man. Season
Yeah,
6. Get ready. Get
yeah,
hype.
get hyped. If you aren't already hyped for BlizzCon, get hyped for season 6, or get hyped for both, and try not to have a hype overload.
I'm really
And
excited. I love the beginning of the season. Not to derail or anything like that, but man, it is my favorite time of playing Diablo.
definitely, yeah.
It's a classic.
And our final item of the week here is sent in by Mihai. This one is, as he puts it, a godly gavel of judgment. And this is coming in at 4,633 DPS, rolled with a perfect 10% weapon damage. 1,245 strength, has been re-rolled to increase attack speed by 7%, increases Hammer the Ancient's damage by 93%, the secondary property of increasing maximum fury by 20, and the legendary property of Hammer the Ancient's returns 20 fury if it hits 3 or fewer enemies. And
Yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely nice. It's hitting
very
all the
nice.
it's got all the right affixes on there.
Yeah, just all it's missing is a Happy Meal.
That's right.
Yeah. And so with that, that kind of brings us to the end of our community section there. I don't know if you have any last minute things to tack on for our community stuff before we start getting into the outro.
I got nothing. I love all of you.
Aw. So words of wisdom, words of encouragement, straight from Leviathan there.
There it is from the
Um,
heart.
yeah, but yes, if you enjoyed our community feedback section or just enjoyed the show, please by all means go through. Let us know. You can drop us an email. We're westmarchworkshop@blizzpro.com. If you want to send us in your thoughts, ideas, items to go through and showcase here on the show, just go through and send them in to us. If you want to go and chat with us, you can also follow us on Twitter. We're at the WM Workshop. And of course, you can join us here live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/BlizzPro. And while you're here, you can go ahead and click that follow button, or if you're feeling generous, you can go ahead and click that brand new subscribe button that we have to go through and help support not only our show, but the rest of the BlizzPro network, because we have lots of things to offer, if you're interested in any of the other Blizzard franchises. Sunday nights, we have the Well Met podcast going through and featuring Hearthstone. Tuesday nights is the Hero Power Hour. Wednesday nights is, of course, us covering everything Diablo. And then on Thursday nights is Payload, our Overwatch podcast, which is getting really interesting as we get closer to the release of Overwatch coming up here in a little over a month. So yeah, definitely go through, check that out. Click the follow button, and by all means, we definitely would appreciate it if you subscribe to help support the hosting costs and stuff like that for all of our shows and podcasts that we do here at the BlizzPro Network. If you're looking for more, you can always check Diablo.blizzpro.com for most of the articles and subjects that we talked about here on the show. We're also in game. You can go through. We are the BlizzPro clan that you can go and submit to. As we mentioned earlier, there is not very many spots left. We are filling up quick, and once we get to the start of the season, there will be a rather long wait list. But while you potentially wait to get into the clan, or if you don't want to leave your current friends or your current clan, you can always go through and join the in-game community where just do a search for Westmarch Workshop to come through and chat with us. And speaking of chatting with us, especially once we get going into the new season, as Leviathan mentioned earlier, we have a voice chat server that you can find at discord.blizzpro.com without having to install any clients or anything like that to go and just chat with us. And if you want to follow us individually, you can check us out. I'm at 9ballgamer on Twitter, and you can also follow my co-host Leviathan at S8Stewart111. And you stream from time to time, and not so much lately, but definitely in the next week or two, I would say, if you want
Oh
to tell everyone where you
yes.
can find.
Oh yeah. And 9 days from now, nine, I will
9.
be.
I like
I
that
will.
number. I don't know why.
Yes. I don't know why either. I will restart the glorious streams for Wealth and Crusade and all the good stuff. Twitch.tv/Leviathan111. I'm planning to go ham for the first weekend of season 6, so expect a huge marathon. Maybe my biggest one yet. I don't know. No crazy promises, but I'm feeling really good and really excited for it. So yeah, things will be good.
Yeah, we shall see. We shall see.
Hmm.
I guess we'll be talking about that more on next episode as we get the final details ironed out for who, what, where, when, and why.
That's right. Season 6 hype.
Yep, get hyped if you aren't already. And with that, I guess this takes us out to the end of the show. I guess I should also go and mention that we didn't have any new iTunes reviews, but yeah, if you like the show and you listen to us on iTunes, by all means, stop by and give us a 5-star rating there to help grow the community. We definitely really appreciate it. If you have any final closing comments, witty remarks, or potential dick jokes that you want to say before we end the show.
I like turtles.